We're actually going to do one more salary example. I lied. Sorry. But this one's a little different. It's not the exact same sub as before. So let's take a look at it, and you'll see there's a lot more involved. But what we're doing here is we want to factor in overtime. So if an employee works for more than 40 hours in a given week, that person should receive overtime pay, which is going to be what's considered time and a half. So you take your pay rate and then you would include an additional 50% based on what extra time you paid. So it's not that your entire week gets time and a half. It's how much extra you work, that part gets time and a half. So let's take a look what's going on in this particular case. So here we did need to create a local variable for pay because we don't know what it's going to be right away. Trying to do these computations without a local variable would be pretty difficult in this case. So we do have pay declared right here. And we're going to use an if-then-else statement to handle the situation of the hours. So we see that in our condition, we're going to check to see if the hours is less than or equal to 40. If so, then that means the worker has not gone over the 40-hour work week, so the pay would be normal. So in that case, we see that the pay would just be the pay rate times the hours. Now, if this is not the case, so if the hours is strictly greater than 40, we see down in this section right here, all the way over here, that we have to calculate that overtime pay. So we still have the pay rate times 40. So we know there's at least 40 hours. So that's what's being done in this section right here. Notice I didn't say hours. I just said 40 because hours here is greater than 40. So we don't want to handle all the hours just yet. We're going to break it up into two cases. This handles the 40 hours, the first 40 hours case, and then the rest of this is going to handle the remaining hours. So let's look at what's going on here. So we have the 1.5, so this takes care of multiplying the actual pay by 1.5 because you get time and a half for the additional hours that you work. We still have our pay rate, so it's 1.5 of the pay rate, so that part's still in there. And notice that we're going to take the hours and subtract it by 40 right here. So this will give us the extra hours that were worked. So this way, you're still getting the pay of the extra hours. So we multiply it by the pay rate, and then we tack on the extra 1.5 multiplication part of it. So we multiply it by 1.5. So we take these two values, put that into pay, and that would be the total pay for the week if you get overtime. And then we see down here, this is no different than what we've seen before already, where we're going to take our pay, convert it to a string, and then store that into the text property of the label, which is called LB salary. We'll now take a look at a couple of sub-examples that help reinforce the difference between by-val and by-ref parameters. For these examples, we're going to do them as exercises. So I'm going to give you the code. You're going to look at it and see if you can determine what the code's actually doing. So what I'd recommend is pausing the video when I ask you the question, work out the code, and see if you can figure out the answer to the question. So here we have a sub called test method. We're going to pass a single parameter called x. We're going to do some stuff inside the body of the sub, and we have a message box to display the output. And then outside of the sub, we see that we have some code as well where we will call the sub, and then we will do another message box. So we have two message boxes here. So my question to you is, if you follow this code, what is going to happen to our message boxes, or what are these message boxes going to show? All right, so let's trace through the code here. And actually, we're going to start right here. We'll start at this line. So think of this as being outside of our sub. So we have a variable called mynum. It's going to be a double that's initially 10. And then we're going to call our sub test method, and we're going to pass 10 to it. And what we see is 10 will be stored into x, and then x gets changed to 15, and then we display the contents of x. So at this point, since x is 15, the message box inside of our sub is going to display 15. Now, what happens when we get back is we see that after calling the sub, we show the contents of mynum, and at this point, it's going to actually display 10. So the value of mynum at this point is 10, not 15. And the reason behind that is because x is a bival parameter in our sub. And if you remember, the way bival parameters work is any change done to the parameter does not change the values of the arguments at all. So even though we change x to 15 in our sub, that has no impact on the value of my num. So my num is going to remain 10 no matter what. Here is the exact same code from before. The only difference is x is now a biref parameter instead of a bival parameter. But everything else remains the same. So my question to you is, what's going to happen with the message boxes? What will they show when this code is done? So let's trace through the code again, starting at the beginning. So my num is 10. We're going to call our sub. So 10 gets passed into x. We change x to 15. We display the contents of x in a message box. So our message box in the sub is still going to be 15. That stays the same. But what happens now is when we go back into our code, so after we call our sub, my num has changed. It's now going to be 15. So when we display the second message box, we find that it's going to display 15 instead of 10. And this is because x is a biref parameter, which means if we make a change to that parameter in a sub, it is going to change the variable that was the argument to our sub call. So in this case, any change done to x is going to change my num.